Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Ready to explore another fascinating topic with us.
Always.
Today, we're going to kind of tackle a tough one,
Yeah.
the whole self-care thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why it can feel so hard to you, put ourselves first sometimes.
Right.
We'll be using Chapter 2 from Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life,
Okay.
specifically his rule.
Oh, yeah.
Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping.
Interesting. So, we would take care of someone else?
Exactly. But often, we're way better at caring for, say, our pets
Oh, for sure.
than we are caring for ourselves.
It's so true. Think about it.
Yeah.
We rarely ever forget to give our pets their medication.
Right.
But we might skip our own beds even when we really need them.
Okay, so that's the paradox then. Why is it easier to care for, a dog or a cat than it is to care for ourselves?
Well, Peterson suggests this might be because deep down we have some self-contempt.
Like we don't think we're worthy of care.
Yeah, something like that.
Huh. And he uses the story of Adam and Eve to kind of illustrate this point.
Not in a strictly religious sense,
Oh, I see.
but more as a way to understand human nature.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So the idea of the fallen creature in this context,
Right.
it's less about a literal fall from grace
Right.
and more about what comes with self-awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
With knowledge.
Like realizing we're not perfect.
Yeah, and also realizing that we're vulnerable
Right.
and that we're going to die someday. And I think that awareness, it can definitely lead to shame,
Yeah.
guilt, and, just this feeling that we're not worthy
We see that play out in our own lives all the time, right?
all the time.
We criticize ourselves. We put our own needs last.
It's like we're constantly sabotaging ourselves.
Exactly. So gaining knowledge, which we usually think of as a good thing,
Yeah.
can actually cause suffering.
In a way, yeah. Peterson talks about this balance between chaos and order.
Oh, right. Those core concepts of his.
Yeah, chaos is the unknown.
Scary stuff. It can be. And then order is all about structure, predictability.
Okay, so like yin and yang, you need both.
Exactly. They're intertwined, and we need both to thrive.
But how does all this connect back to Adam and Eve?
Well, think about the serpent in the Garden of Eden.
Okay.
It tempts Eve with the forbidding fruit, right? The fruit of knowledge.
So the serpent symbolizes danger.
Yeah, the danger of knowledge.
Makes sense. I mean, snakes have always been a threat to humans.
Yeah, for as long as we've been around, so it makes sense that they'd become a symbol of the unknown, of potential harm.
So knowledge can be tempting, but it can also hurt us.
It's a double-edged sword.
And that's what happens to Adam and Eve, right? Their eyes are opened.
Right, but it's not necessarily a good thing.
It sounds more like it brings anxiety than bliss.
Yeah, because along with self-awareness comes this realization of our flaws, our limitations.
And the fact that we're not going to live forever.
Exactly.
So we start to feel inadequate, unworthy.
And it can make taking care of ourselves feel kind of pointless.
Right? Like, why bother investing in something that's flawed and temporary?
That's the trap we can fall into.
It's a pretty bleak outlook, I gotta say.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of counter-argument to all this self-contempt?
There is. While Peterson acknowledges this, shadow side of self-awareness, he also emphasizes our incredible capacity for good,
Okay.
our resilience.
You mean like bouncing back from tough times?
Exactly. And our ability to create order out of that chaos.
I like that.
Think about all the everyday heroes we see.
Like who? Give me an example.
People overcoming incredible odds.
Okay.
People working to make the world a better place, even in small ways.
I get it. So it's like there's this spark of the divine in us, like Peterson says.
Mm,
We may be flawed,
yeah.
but we also have this potential for amazing things.
And that potential is what Peterson wants us to tap into.
So self-care isn't about like indulging ourselves.
No, it's about honoring that potential.
Okay, so how do we do that? I mean, where do we even begin?
That's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm ready to hear more. Okay, so we just talked about how self-care is about more than just, indulging ourselves.
Right.
It's about recognizing that potential we have
Exactly.
and honoring it.
Mm-hmm.
But that all sounds kind of, I don't know, abstract.
Yeah.
How do we actually put that into practice? Like, where do we even begin?
That's where Peterson gets really practical.
Okay.
He says the first step is defining our values.
Our values.
And our goals, too.
But doesn't everyone kind of already know what their values are?
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But most people haven't actually, sat down and really thought about it.
Oh, I see.
What truly matters to them.
Okay, I get it. It's easy to just get caught up in the day-to-day
Totally.
and lose sight of the big picture.
Exactly. So Peterson suggests taking some time to reflect.
Reflect on what?
Well, what gives your life meaning?
Hmm,
What kind of person do you want to be?
that's a big question.
It is. But answering those questions can help you figure out your core values.
Okay, and then once we know our values,
Then we can set goals.
goals that, like, actually align with what we believe in.
Yeah. Goals can be about your career,
Okay.
your relationships, your health, personal growth, really anything that's important to you.
So having goals gives us, like, a sense of purpose.
It does. A sense of direction, too.
But what about the areas where we struggle? Like, Peterson also talks about identifying our limitations.
He does. That's a key part of this whole self-awareness thing.
But that's got to be hard, right? I mean, it's way easier to just focus on what we're good at.
It is tempting to kind of shy away from our weaknesses.
Yeah, who wants to dwell on the negative, you know?
Nobody. But Peterson says it's crucial to acknowledge our limitations, but without judging ourselves for them.
So it's not about, like, beating ourselves up
No, it's about understanding ourselves more fully.
so we can play to our strengths.
Yeah, and also develop strategies for dealing with our weaknesses.
Okay, so it's like taking an inventory of ourselves.
Exactly. Figuring out what we're working with.
So we can create a plan for improvement.
You got it. And remember, this isn't about being perfect.
Oh, good, because
Yeah.
I'm definitely not perfect.
None of us are. This is about being realistic and being kind to ourselves.
Okay, so we've defined our values,
Mhm.
we've set some goals,
Yeah.
and we've, like, taken stock of our strengths and weaknesses. What's next? How do we actually make progress?
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Okay,
It takes self-discipline.
my least favorite thing.
I hear you. But Peterson says we need a plan for self-improvement.
Like a step-by-step guide?
There's no one-size-fits-all approach, though.
Okay.
Everyone's path is going to be unique.
So what does it look like in practice?
It's about making time for activities that align with your goals.
Okay, give me an example.
Like setting aside an hour each day to read,
I could do that.
or exercise,
Ooh, maybe not that.
or work on a creative project,
Maybe.
or learn a new skill, anything like that.
Okay, so just consistently doing things that move us towards our goals.
Exactly. It's like tending a garden.
Oh, I like that analogy.
It takes consistent effort to make things grow.
But you got to be patient, right? Like with a garden, you don't see results overnight.
You're right. Patience is key.
And there are going to be setbacks.
For sure. And challenges, too.
Days when you just don't feel like doing it.
Absolutely. And that's when self-compassion comes in again.
So being kind to ourselves even when we mess up.
Exactly. Progress isn't always linear, you know?
It's about keeping on, keeping on.
That's it. Even if it's just one small step at a time.
And all this effort isn't just for some future version of ourselves, right? We benefit from it right now.
Absolutely. When we do things that align with our values,
Yeah.
it brings a sense of fulfillment, of joy to our lives in the present moment.
Okay, so we're not just delaying gratification.
No way. We're enjoying the journey.
I like that. And
Mhm.
Peterson connects this to finding meaning and purpose, right?
He does. He uses this great quote from Nietzsche.
Oh, yeah, I love Nietzsche. What's the quote?
He whose life has a why can bear almost anyhow.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's about resilience.
Like having a reason to keep going.
Exactly. No matter what life throws at you.
And that why doesn't have to be like some grand universal thing.
No, it can be something very personal.
Okay, so what matters to you?
Yeah. It could be your relationships, your
Yeah.
work, your creative pursuits, your desire to make a difference, your connection to something bigger than yourself.
It's about what gives your life meaning.
Exactly.
And this makes me think about our responsibility to the world, too.
Mm-hmm.
Peterson says we all have the power to make the world a better or worse place.
And that ties back to the idea of treating ourselves like someone we're responsible for helping.
Okay, so if we're taking care of ourselves,
Yeah.
striving to be better,
We're better equipped to make a positive impact.
like that ripple effect, right?
Exactly. Our positive changes can influence others.
And those ripples can spread outwards.
To our communities and beyond.
So it's not selfish to focus on ourselves.
It's actually the opposite.
We're helping others
Yeah.
by helping ourselves.
And it all starts with recognizing our own worth, taking responsibility for our well-being.
That's a great way to put it.
We've covered a lot of ground so far, from defining our values and goals to developing a plan and cultivating discipline.
What resonates most with you from all this?
For me, it's the emphasis on self-knowledge and self-compassion.
Yeah, those are important.
Recognizing our strengths and limitations, accepting our imperfections.
And being kind to ourselves along the way.
That's key. Self-improvement isn't about being perfect, it's about embracing who we are
Flaws and all.
and making choices that align with our values.
And the whole idea of finding meaning and purpose, that's really powerful too.
If we don't have a why, it's easy to give up.
But when we know why we're doing something,
This is the motivation to keep going.
even when things get tough.
Absolutely. And that purpose can be found in the everyday,
Okay.
in our relationships, our work, our connection to something larger.
So we've explored Peterson's ideas on self-care and self-improvement.
We have.
But there's one thing we haven't fully addressed yet.
What's that?
How do we deal with those feelings of shame and self-contempt that can make it so hard to even start taking care of ourselves?
That's a good question, and we'll explore that in the final part of our deep dive.
So we spent a good amount of time exploring this idea of self-care with Jordan Peterson as our guide.
Yeah, it's been quite a deep dive.
But there's this one kind of nagging question we haven't really tackled head on.
Which one?
How do we actually overcome those feelings of shame and self-contempt?
Yeah.
You know, this stuff that makes it so hard to be kind to ourselves in the first place.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Peterson acknowledges how heavy those feelings can be, but he also says they're not the whole picture.
Right. Like there's got to be more to the story than just feeling bad about ourselves.
Exactly. We also have this amazing capacity for good, for resilience, for making order out of chaos.
Like we talked about before, that whole spark of the divine thing.
Yeah, that potential we all have as humans.
For creativity, for consciousness, for moral reasoning.
And Peterson even suggests that this self-criticism, this awareness of our flaws, it might actually be necessary
Necessary for what?
for moral growth
Mm-hmm.
and for self-improvement.
So it's like by recognizing our shortcomings,
Yeah,
we're actually able to strive for something better.
exactly. It's not about ignoring our flaws or pretending they don't exist.
So instead of seeing self-criticism as a bad thing,
Mm-hmm.
we can actually view it as a kind of catalyst for change.
A catalyst for positive change, yeah.
Okay, so it's like we mess up
We learn from it.
and we try to do better next time.
And we remember that we're not defined by our mistakes.
It's a process.
It is a constant process of choosing.
Choosing to be better.
Yeah, one choice at a time.
And this makes me think about what you said earlier about our responsibility to the world.
Oh, right.
By taking care of ourselves, by trying to be better people.
We're actually fulfilling a responsibility to something bigger than ourselves.
That's a cool way to think about it.
It is, isn't it? It's like
It-
that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Oh, I've heard that one.
If we're not taking care of ourselves,
Yeah.
we don't have much to give to others.
Makes sense.
But when we're feeling strong and grounded,
Then we can show up for others with more energy, more compassion.
exactly. And that challenges this whole idea that self-care is selfish.
Oh yeah, that old chestnut.
Peterson says it's actually the opposite.
It's about recognizing our worth
Mm.
and taking responsibility for our well-being so we can actually contribute to the world.
He even calls it a moral obligation.
Wow, a moral obligation.
If we believe our lives have value,
Mm-hmm.
we have a duty to care for ourselves.
Like we would care for someone we loved.
Exactly.
That's a powerful reframing.
It is, right? It shifts self-care from being this kind of luxury to something essential.
Almost like a form of service.
And that shift in perspective can be what helps us overcome the shame, the unworthiness.
Instead of dwelling on our flaws,
Yeah.
we can start appreciating our strengths
We can celebrate our accomplishments no matter how small.
and acknowledge our efforts, even when we don't quite hit the mark.
It all comes back to self-compassion.
Treating ourselves with the same kindness we would offer to a friend.
Or a loved one.
That's tough sometimes.
It is, but it's so important.
Because when we cultivate self-compassion,
It frees us from all that self-doubt.
we can set healthy boundaries, advocate for our needs.
And we can face challenges with more grace.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into all this,
Yeah.
I'm left with a feeling of hope, and I feel kind of empowered too.
It's not an easy journey, that's for sure.
But recognizing our worth,
And taking responsibility for our well-being.
those are big steps in the right direction.
Peterson ends this chapter with a really thought-provoke.
Oh yeah.
If you were truly responsible for helping yourself, what would you do differently starting today?
That is a good question.
It is, right. And we encourage you to really sit with that question, maybe journal about it.
And remember, even small, consistent steps towards self-care.
They can make a huge difference.
Because investing in ourselves,
It's not just an act of self-love.
it's an act of service to the world.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.